You know, for as long as I can remember, the beat 'em up has been one of my favorite genres of video games. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs, and that extends all the way to today. But as much as I love games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, there are so many incredible retro beat 'em ups that I want to talk about. And we are kicking things off with the whole reason I am wearing this Hawkeye shirt. From a gameplay perspective, Captain America and the Avengers on the Sega Genesis is not going to win any awards for innovation. It isn't really going to win any awards for visual appearance. It probably won't win any awards for favorite game of all time from most people. But for me, I love this game. This was a game that released during my formative years of being a huge comic book fan and loving the characters of Hawkeye and Captain America, and to a lesser extent, Iron Man and the Vision. You get to play as those four characters in this game. You are exploring a city and fighting classic Marvel villains that are fairly well represented, like Whirlwind. I think that was his name, Whirlwind? I think it's Whirlwind. And it is a traditional beat-em-up game. There's tons of mooks that you're beating the crap out of as your chosen superhero. Each character plays a little bit differently. Some characters are better at certain things than others, but for me, the money was playing as Hawkeye and Cap. I thought it was amazing. I think it's a fun game to this day. It's something that I truly enjoy, and while I do think the SNES version is better, I could afford the Genesis version when I found it, so that's why I have this one. I'm going with the NES version of this because I haven't put a lot of NES games on this list, but the arcade version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is also spectacular. But TMNT2, the arcade game on the NES, is one of those landmark kind of touchstone experiences for me on that console because it was the first time I really sat up and went, oh my god, I can play arcade games at home. And yes, looking at them side by side, there's no comparison. The arcade game is superlative in every single conceivable metric that you can line up against it. But for me, fun factor is the NES version. I played hours upon hours of this game with my friend Josh. I played this constantly as I got older. It is still one of my favorite NES games to this day. I think it has a look and a feel that is unmatched as far as arcade ports go on the NES. I think it does better in some places than the original arcade release with longer levels, more engaging combat. I just love this game. One of my absolute favorites. On the Game Boy Advance, we had a release called Capcom Classics Mini Mix, and I love this because it includes three of my favorite games. It includes Strider, it includes Bionic Commando, and it includes the incredibly expensive, hard to find, and wickedly rare Mighty Final Fight. This is an incredible beat-em-up on the NES that takes the kind of core Final Fight gameplay and just sticks it in an 8-bit environment where all of the characters are super deformed and chibi, and it's adorable and fantastic and doesn't lose anything in translation. Like, it could have been played for cute effect, and it kind of is in ways, but it doesn't take away from that core gameplay because it is still an incredibly solid beat-em-up experience and one of my favorites on the console. Absolutely fantastic collection of games, and it is so dirt cheap compared to Mighty Final Fight. This is absolutely worth having for anyone that has a GBA collection. One of the best kind of compilation games on the console. Super Famicom games are ones that are kind of a blank spot for me, where I don't know a ton about that library. I'm learning more every month, but I just don't have a lot of exposure to Super Famicom games, unless they're licensed titles, because I do love a licensed game, because there's so many incredible Japanese characters out there, like Kamen Rider here. This game is a trip, first off. Like, it feels like a Power Rangers episode come to life, if that's what you're familiar with here in the States. You play as Kamen Rider, and as you go through the game, you need to power up to use your superpowers. You can be a standard human, or you can be Kamen Rider. It's amazing. Absolutely love this game. This is one I discovered, I want to say last year or the year before, when I was trying to discover new licensed titles on the Super Nintendo, and it's just an absolute hoot to play. Love this game so much. One of the most visually striking and just design-rich games on the Sega Genesis is this absolutely brilliant video game, Comix Zone, which, first and foremost, it is absolutely criminal that there has only been one entry in this video game series, that this has been a forgotten IP for now 30 years, although there are rumors that Sega is bringing it back. I just cannot believe that this is the only entry we got. But if you're only going to get one, why not go out on top? Because this game is amazing. Just from a presentation perspective, where everything is drawn in, everything is presented in comic book panels, every villain is kind of sketched in and has word balloons for dialogue, it just excels in every single way. The challenge is ridiculously high. It is not a forgiving game. It is very, very challenging and fun, and I love it. The soundtrack is great. The look is wonderful. It is very 90s, so if you're not from the 90s and you've never played this, get ready for some culture shock, kids. But I love this title. One of the all-time greatest Sega Genesis games. One of the best beat-em-ups ever made. Some of you might question why this is on here, because a lot of folks are going to tell me the GameCube isn't retro. Guys, it is a over 20-year-old console at this point. If its insurance premiums are going down, it's retro. Teen Titans is a game I learned about because of Metal Jesus. This is one that he talked about in a GameCube Hidden Gems video, and as a big fan of the Teen Titans anime and a big fan of Teen Titans Go, I immediately went out and bought it. I didn't even question if this game was going to be great because I love Teen Titans so much. I didn't even know this game existed, which is why I didn't own it. And I am telling you, it is one of my favorite beat-em-ups on the console. It is fantastic multiplayer. It is fantastic single player. You get to play as every single member of the Titans. They all have different powers and different abilities. Every character in the game is voiced by their actors from the animated series. Nothing is missed. The attention to detail in this game is spectacular. If you are a fan of the Teen Titans show, you need this game in your life. Batman Returns is such a wonderful game. This is like a classic arcade experience on the Super Nintendo, and it just works in every possible way. It's Konami, so you know it's going to be great from that time period. This looks like a Tim Burton film come to life. The character is huge, it's larger than life. The enemies feel like they stepped out of a Tim Burton film. You're fighting clowns left and right. Like, this is decidedly inspired by Tim Burton. There's no questions asked there. And the gameplay itself is challenging and enjoyable. It's one of those games that just works. You know, sometimes we get licensed titles that are trying too hard, and instead, Konami just took the character of Batman, put him into his universe, and made him beat up clowns. You can't go wrong with that. There have been no shortage of Double Dragon ports on home consoles, but for my money, the best one of the original arcade release is on the Sega Master System. And the Sega Master System was really the best of the 8-bit consoles for arcade ports. Like, they're the most faithful, and they're the most accurate to what you would have received in an arcade. I like the NES release of Double Dragon. Well, okay, that's a lie. I don't really like it. It's okay. It's a fine game. But the Master System version is spectacular. It is beautiful to look at in comparison to the NES release. The gameplay is significantly more solid and feels like it's more well-tuned than the NES release. The music is better, the look of the game is better, the atmosphere just feels more like the arcade release. It's honestly the total package. And I am so ecstatic to have it because it's such a cheap game for Master System collections nowadays. Thrilled to have this one. You can find it at almost every convention you go to, and most used game stores, if they have a good Master System section, will have Double Dragon in stock. On arcades, it doesn't get better than The Simpsons, and yes, I know for a lot of us it hasn't aged well, myself included, and there are aspects of the game that I look at and I go, I can't believe I love this, but there's something truly nostalgic about sitting down in front of that 4-player cabinet with 3 buddies and a pile of quarters, or in most modern barcades, a couple of beers and some good food, and playing games with your friends. I love this game. It is one of my all-time favorites. It is something that I think of fondly of my childhood because of this title. Mike Greenwell's Battle Ball at Family Fun Park in Cape Coral, Florida with my friends. Playing this in Chuck E. Cheese up in Massachusetts, it was something where I just loved the Simpsons game, and it's something that I still love to this day, warts and all. The Punisher is one of those games that has seen increasing prices over the years, and it's a shame because this is one of those beat-em-ups that I think is just really overlooked and just missed out by a lot of people because of the price tag associated to the title. You can play as either Frank Castle or Nick Fury. Only 2 characters, so there's not a huge selection of different characters here. Both of them play fairly much the same, and it's just basically a street-level Marvel game where you are using the Punisher or Nick Fury to take out criminals, to advance through levels. There's some great action, some great beat-em-ups in this game where you are doing primarily fisticuffs and just, using your hands to beat up people, but you're able to also pick up firearms and have a limited amount of ammunition to take out criminals as well. It's a really clever interpretation of what the Punisher is all about and how he functions, and it just works incredibly well. Now, this is available on modern consoles on the Capcom and Marvel Fighting Game Collection. This was just kind of tossed in from that, which I think is awesome. So if you have not played this on the Genesis, you should check it out there because it's wonderful. It's the arcade version, but it's basically the same game. Love it. Absolutely fantastic title. There are 2 very different Pirates of Dark Water games between the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and while I prefer the Sega Genesis release, which is more of a platforming hack and slash, kind of like Lady Sia on the Game Boy Advance, the SNES release is a more traditional beat-em-up of the 16-bit variety. And it's fantastic. Like, it is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it is one of my favorite SNES games, primarily because of the license, because I love the Pirates of Dark Water animated series so much. It is a wonderful game that has some really challenging gameplay and some really fun level layouts. And the use of the different pirates from the Dark Water crew are just wonderful. Like, it's great to play as all 3 different characters. All of them play a little bit differently. The challenge is wonderful, and everything in the game just works. I love it when licensed games come together the right way, and this one does. This is where my love of beat-em-ups started, was with River City Ransom on the NES, and this is such a wonderful blending of both fantastic beat-em-up gameplay and awesome RPG action, because you get to level your characters up and tailor them to the way you want them to play. I love the gameplay in this game. I love the simplified controls. I love the easy-to-understand interface, the idea of what the game is about, like going across your city, going to different turfs to beat up rival gangs, to take their money, to improve yourself and your fighting abilities by getting different RPG elements when you're in towns. I absolutely love it. The gameplay is wonderful. It is a gift that keeps on giving, too, because while we have the wonderful original River City Ransom, we have had a series of games in the River City series, including games that aren't from the River City series, like Crash and the Boy Team Challenge, the Kunio-kun ice hockey game that I love so much, so many incredible games that were released either limited here in the States or stuff that was released exclusively in Japan on the Famicom, and we still get games in the River City series to this day, like with River City Girls from Limited Run. It's a fantastic franchise, a wonderful series of games, and a great beat-em-up that started here on the NES. Star Wars Episode 3 on the Game Boy Advance is one I learned about because of Radical Reggie talking about it on a Metal Jesus Rocks Hidden Gems video, and I love learning about GBA games from Reggie because I think he is one of the, honestly, foremost authorities on the console. Like, he just has an exhaustive, encyclopedic knowledge of that console and its library. And when he suggested Episode 3, I won't lie, I had my doubts. I didn't think it was going to be great, but getting into game, it's awesome to play as Anakin or Obi-Wan, to take out a ton of battle droids, use your Force abilities. It's just wonderful. Now, this one might be considered more of a hack and slash, but to me, since it is you against an endless horde of enemies, I really do think this is a beat-em-up, but your mileage might vary on that. And if you do think this is more of a hack and slash than a beat-em-up, forgive me. To me, they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin, just with different settings, but love this one. If you haven't had a chance to play it, you should check it out, and from what I hear, the DS version is solid as well. No list of retro video game beat-em-ups is complete without including Streets of Rage 2 on it, and while I could wax on for hours about the platitudes that this game so richly deserves, everything for me stops and ends with the soundtrack to this title, because it's one of the greatest soundtracks ever recorded for a video game. Every song in this game hits. It is wonderful to listen to. You don't even have to be playing the game to just get into the groove of what this game offers. And the gameplay, obviously, nothing to laugh at either. It's all fantastic. It all plays incredibly well. Each character plays a little bit differently, so there's replay value baked in, and you're able to find which character you enjoy the most. But for me, like I said, the music is the key. It is an imperative element to making this game just feel that much more lived in. For me, this isn't just music in a game. This is like a film score. It's like a soundtrack that sets the mood for each stage, and that's the highest compliment I can pay it. Saving the best for last is the X-Men arcade game in arcades, obviously. It is the arcade experience for me as far as beat-em-ups go. As much as I love The Simpsons, as much as I love both Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Turtles in Time in the arcade, for me, X-Men is the ultimate arcade game for beat-em-up action. 4-player action, 6 different X-Men characters you're able to choose from, including Dazzler, which is cool as hell to me. Like, I love that character anyway, so to get her in a video game is awesome. It doesn't get better than Wolverine or Nightcrawler as far as I'm concerned, but Dazzler being there is a solid bronze medal. The gameplay is wonderful. There are a ton of magnificently huge sprites on screen. Everyone looks true to their Marvel Comics counterpart. This is a great tie-in to the Pride of the X-Men anime that came out that was hopefully going to spin off into an animated series. That didn't happen, unfortunately, but it is something where I look at it, and this is the ultimate what might have been video game for me, because I really thought this was going to spawn into like this endless barrage of amazing Marvel beat-em-ups from Konami, and it just didn't happen. And you know what? That's okay, because this game is eternal for me. It is spectacular. It is perfect. I love it. Retro beat-em-ups that to me hold up to this day that I think are fantastic. Now, this is not saying these are the best ones. These are just the ones that I wanted to talk about today, but I want to hear from you, my friends. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite retro beat-em-ups are. I'm sure there's ones I overlooked. There are dozens upon dozens upon dozens of them, I think, just on the Super Nintendo. So there are plenty of opportunities out there. I think I had to include the Sega Master System version of Double Dragon. It is the best version of the game outside of the arcades. But let me know in the comments, what's your favorite version of Double Dragon? Till next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. The engagement helps the channel out. Click the subscribe button if you really enjoyed it and want to stick around. I do a couple videos a week, every Tuesday and every Friday, and we talk about the best in retro and modern games. We are on our way to 18,000 subs. But until next time, folks, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.